Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about spiritual escapism, um, what it is, why it happens, and where I have been seeing it recently. Um, I was actually on Twitter looking at the coverage and response of the community with the LA fires. I live in Los Angeles. And I saw this one guy talk about how his house burned down. And one of the top replies was this, like spiritual guru kind of guy talking about how he should use this moment to transcend his egoic desires and transcend his need for possessions and material things, and to transcend his negative emotions, and that they're all, fake, um, and that all of his suffering is in his own mind. And it's it's very unempathetic, very, I would say, narcissistic response to the situation. And unfortunately, I've seen this kind of response to tragedy my whole life. Um, I think people try to find purpose in bad things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it manifests in negative ways a lot. Um, and it makes perfect sense. Like I said, I have experienced, um, I mean, not to that degree. I'm not going to tell someone on Twitter. That's ridiculous. But I've noticed sometimes someone will tell me, a tragic or really hard thing in their life, and I have responded in, it's in your head and stuff, and it's always caused obviously way more harm than good, and it's just made me look like an asshole, and I was being an asshole, because you don't want to hear that. In that moment, you want to grieve and you want to, feel negative emotion. There's nothing wrong with the negative emotions, especially when something tragic happens. That's how we process things. I would say that emotion in itself is very meaningful, and I don't think we should run away from that. But I think the reason we do run away from it is because society has been very apocalyptic and intense as of late. It feels like, every week is another end of the world headline. That's it's really left us with no sense of agency. And when you don't have an exterior sense of agency, you turn inward because you can control, your own interior emotion, or at least you have a sense that you can. It's like, why would you spend 20 years, working on the outside, doing all this labor and focusing on your career, and then buying a house just for it to burn down? That leaves a lot of people hopeless, and I think one of the responses to that is a form of spiritual escapism. And the problem with spiritual escapism is that it's running away from the problems. It's not integrating your worldview or spirituality or philosophy into the everyday complexities and challenges that we all face. When somebody adopts this mindset, I've noticed, and when I've adopted it myself, it leads to a lot of narcissistic, spiritual ego, just lack of empathy, and it doesn't make anyone feel good. Only the zealots of whoever you're preaching to, which will just inflate your ego probably even more. And it's really sad. It's unfortunate. Like I said, it makes sense. But if you do find yourself in those circles or adopting that mindset ever, I challenge you to look deeper into your spirituality and your philosophy, and see if you're actually transcending these negative emotions or if you're just running away from them. I would argue that a true spiritual practice would integrate these negative emotions and tragic events and not judge them and not look at them as bad or good. It's more of a form of acceptance. And of course, I don't have the answers. I'm not a spiritual teacher or anything. But I think that mindset will adopt the positive things because, I'd say every great wisdom school and religion and philosophy has some kind of similar, it's your inner state. That's what's important for your happiness and stuff. Like there's nothing wrong with that mindset. I'm not trying to argue for that. I'm just saying if that mindset is leading you away from the negative and viewing that as something that is bad and not just a reality of life and something that we need to experience and accept in order to transcend them, I would say, if that's what your goal is. But I don't, not everyone has that goal. I think that's a big problem with the spiritual escapism is it disregards all cultural experience and other people's personal experiences for your own personal truth, which of course is going to lack empathy and going to lead to narcissistic behavior. Yeah. So, don't give advice unless someone asks for it. I think most people know that, but obviously not. And this is just a call to challenge your own beliefs if you think you need to transcend or above experiencing and feeling any emotion, whether that's negative or positive. It's all reality. It's all life. And, if there's a famous Zen Buddhist saying, which is something like, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And, you could interpret that as, you can interpret it however you want, but I interpret it as, a true spiritual practice. If even during enlightenment, you still engage in everyday life. You still engage in the trivial aspects, the tragic aspects. Everything can still happen to you. And yeah. Spread love, spread kindness, and don't run away from the negative. Thank you for watching. That's all I have to say for now. And let me know what you think about this kind of format. I'm thinking of just making videos like this. It's just me talking to the camera versus all the edits, because that takes a lot of time. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and thank you.